Hey, Brendan here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. And welcome to version 5 of my top running backs headed to the 2025 NFL Draft. We're going to have fun with this one, folks. This is going to be my last pre-draft running back rank show here on the channel. And of course, after the draft, we will certainly do another show similar to this. But we're going to talk about the top 2025 running backs headed to the NFL Draft after my scouting. And I'll be honest with you, folks, man, my scouting, I am getting burned out scouting this rookie class, playing the Debbie and C2C football formats. I've been watching these players for 3 years. I am so excited to turn the page to 2026. In fact, I've been dropping some 2026 content on this channel. So if you're interested in getting an early look at the 2026 class, hit that subscribe button. Trying to get to 17K subscribers by the NFL Draft. Help me get there. All right, lots of chatter out there that this is a deep class. We're going to get 15, 20 guys hitting our Dynasty rosters this year. I'm not so sure, guys. I mean, we have to be real. Yes, this is a deep class. I think it's top heavy. There's some depth and some good players, but I think everyone's getting a little overexcited that this is the running back class that's going to provide us 8, 9, 10 starting running backs in the NFL Draft. I'm just not buying it. So before we get started, if you want to support the channel and you enjoy watching and playing and scouting players for yourself, consider joining my NFL Draft Big Board subscription service. Email on the bottom of the screen. Go check it out. It's got a lot of great content helping you not only get ready for this class, but like I said, the 2026 and 2027 player ranks. I've already got them ranked for your rookie drafts. Not many places out there have that already. All right, before we get started with the show too, I'd like to give a little bit of history, just what I'm talking about, right? So landing spots are going to be key for a lot of these players, especially the day 3 guys, right? But I just wanted to go through the last 4 years real quick and just look at the on the screen here on the, let's go back to 2024, right? Bucky Irving, out of all the players, you know, we had Brooks, Benson, Corum, right? We had Marshawn Lloyd, all these guys we were hopeful. They all ended up kind of being just backups waiting their turn. Brooks was coming off the ACL injury. Now he, re-injured his injury. So who knows what his thing is going to be. So we only got really one starting running back out of the top 5 or 6 picks you see on the draft, all right? Going back to 2023, we knew Bijan, Gibbs, and A-Chain. Well, not really A-Chain. I mean, he had a great, few years at Texas A&M, but Bijan and Gibbs, we knew were going to come out and get starting gigs, right? So there's going to be a couple players like that in this class. Like I said, it's a top-heavy class, so we're going to get 4 or 5 starters, but I think that's all we're going to get out of this class if we're going to be honest with ourselves. All right, go back to 2022, Breece Hall. We had Walker, Cook, Brian Robinson, Rashad White. He's all but flamed out right now down in Tampa. But you can see those players. I mean, they all, we got 3 or 4 starters out of there. You've got Dameon Pierce, who didn't make it. Zamir White, right? Davis Price by the 49ers selection always was a head scratcher. That scout should be fired for, wasting a 3rd round pick on that dude. But let's go one more year back, 2021, Najee Harris, right? We had ETN, we had Williams, Trey Sermon was a bust, Michael Carter, Stevenson hit, Hubbard hit, right? So we've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of that class. So in realistic terms, out of the last 4 years, we've got at most 5 running backs, all right, in the class. Okay, so and I think that we're going to have that very similar because, like I said, go check out my landing spot show. There's 6 or 7 good spots, but I think, guys, what's going to happen to these players that we all love, our deep, day 3 sleepers, all these guys, right? They're going to find themselves in backup roles because there's other guys that have been waiting their turn that are already familiar with the NFL, the offenses that they're in, and they're kind of patiently waiting their turn as current backups. All right, we're going to do something different. Every time I do this show, I kind of change how I do tiers. And since we're close to the draft, I'm going to break them down into 4 tiers. We're going to do immediate starting 3 down backs, right? So these are the backs that are going to get early draft capital. They're most likely going to get drafted by teams that want to fill a need in the running back room that we're going to be excited about seeing where they land. All right, a future starter, okay? Then we're going to do complementary rotational backs, guys that might get a little shot early in their careers being rotational backs, but not going to be 3 down bell cow, or at least I think starters. And then we're going to do a handcuff backup tier where these are guys that are going to break our hearts because they're going to land on a team that is, like the Jets, right? Or something like that have got 5 guys in front of them. So, but let's get to the show, man. Let's have some fun with this. All right, immediate starting 3 down backs. Okay, of course, the guy number 1 is Ashton Genty. the king of the draft, right? In this year's class, everyone is excited. Congratulations if you have the first pick or second pick in your rookie drafts and you're going to get this guy. I have no shares in my Devi and C2C league, so I'm like super disappointed. I don't think I'm going to get a share either in my rookie draft, so I'm going to be envious of many of you out there. You can see the player cards. Let's take a look at this player cards. I'm going to be showing you these images throughout the show, guys, and these are my scouting report cards, all right? And this is what can be found on my NFL Draft Big Board subscription service, where me and my podcast co-host Jason DiRienzo, we're grading these players, we're watching the All-22 film. It is a fantastic resource. All right, Ashton Jeanty is the king of the draft. He is going to get drafted early round 1. Don't think we really need to spend a lot of time talking about Jeanty and the skills that he brings to the table. He is going to be an exciting player with immediate starting 3-down opportunity. All right. So the next guy I want to talk about is Trevion Henderson. He has been my RB2 for quite some time right now. I love his explosiveness. You can see the PFF grades here. All right. He was first in explosive plays, pretty decent, PFF grades, and his statistics, 6.9 average. He shared the backfield with Judkins. We're going to talk about Judkins here very shortly, but if he was given that full-time role at Ohio State, I think he would have had a lot bigger season and maybe have been, maybe higher on some people's boards. I like his explosiveness. Of course, he has to stay healthy. That's making the assumption that he does stay healthy in the NFL, but his lateral movement and explosiveness and that size, I think, is something that, I really like in his game. And his pass pro is really good, and I think that's going to be something NFL franchises are really going to like. All right, number 3 here on the list, okay, is Omarion Hampton. He is going to get a full-time role. This guy is a battering ram, very different kind of runner than Trevion Henderson. You can see here, man, the guy has got some solid grades. Yards after contact ranked 4th. He was 6th in the elusive rating. He's a violent, just downhill runner. Good pad level, runs, good thick lower half. Guys bounce off his lower half. So he's going to be one of those guys that gets fed the rock a lot. I hope he gets in a great situation. Like I said, go back and take a look at my running back landing spot shows where he goes like maybe to Denver or Chicago or a team that is going to draft him or late. I mean, he's getting late round 1 buzz right now. So they're going to draft him in round 1. The dude is going to get on the field. All right. And go back. If you guys want like detailed scouting, my scouting thoughts on these players, I've done rookie scouting report shows on every one of these players out on the channel. So feel free to go and roam and get those and take a look where we really deep down, dig into the traits that we like or the traits that maybe we think are shortfalls that are not going to lead to them getting on our dynasty rosters. All right, the 4th guy that I think in this draft, my final tier 1 guy that's going to get an immediate opportunity is Quinshad Judkins. All right, so I think he's got one of the best blends of power and physicality with really good change of direction skills. 2 things that I look for in running backs, right? Physicality, toughness, and the ability to change directions with elusiveness, right? Those are the 2 things that I think make a great back in the NFL. All right. Speed's great too, but that to me is icing on the cake. All right. So PFF grades, pretty average across the board, but it's really hard when you share the backfield with another guy going to the NFL draft to really excel in these statistics, right? But he averaged 5 yards a carry. And again, you can see my scouting report card grades are pretty solid on this guy. All right. He is a physical, tough runner. NFL draft franchise is going to draft him with the idea of putting him out there early on the field. All right. So that rounds out my tier 1 running backs. Let's go to tier 2. Now, these guys are future starters. All right. These are my ranks as well as I'm putting these on the tier sheet for that I have ranked in my NFL Draft Big Boards rookie drafts for running backs. All right. First guy I want to talk about, all right, before I get started, these are the Trey Bensons of the world, right? The guys that are going to get, I think, early draft capital, but are going to maybe find themselves sitting behind an existing starter where teams are thinking of maybe moving on a year or 2 with their starter, and they're drafting these players with the idea of let's get them in the room and develop them for future starting roles. First guy I want to talk about is Damian Martinez, man. I am and have been a Damian Martinez believer for some time. I'm higher on him than most people. Love this guy, man. He went from Oregon State goes to Miami, completely has to learn a new offense, but really emerge later in the season, man. But I love this guy's frame. I think he's got great lateral ability. He had the third best rush grade in the class. I think he's been relatively underrated and undervalued throughout this process because, again, he shared time down there in Miami and did not have a full-time role. And like I said, he had to completely learn a whole new offense. But towards the end of the season, man, he was showing me what I saw 2 years ago on film. This kid can play, and I think he's going to get earlier draft capital than most people think. So I'm a big Damian Martinez believer. I'm hoping he gets that draft capital to go along with him. But I don't see him getting on a roster and being he could be a part-time contributor. But, he's going to be drafted to be a future starter, I think, in the league. All right, Dylan Sampson, very polarizing player out there for people. All right, 5'11", 201 pound, true junior. I forgot to mention that Damian Martinez was a true junior, too. There's a lot of true juniors coming out this year in the class, which is really interesting because it's such a deep class. And next year's 2026 class is not looking great. I'm really surprised a lot of these players we're going to talk about today did not go back for next year to maybe get better draft capital, similar to what Nick Singleton did, right? But going back to Dylan Sampson, all right, this guy was, he has been elusive. He's explosive. He's been productive at Tennessee. He's been durable. I mean, some people look at him as Devon Achane 2.0. He's had 4 fumbles on the season, so he's got to clean up the ball security, but he's got that short area quickness. You can see on my scouting card here, I like his burst and long speed, his versatility. I think he's got good patience, good receiving profile too. So I could see him getting a role like Achane as well down in Miami, maybe similar even to like Bucky Irving, where he's going to be drafted, and then they're going to find out that he's kind of got some explosion. A little on the small side, but we've seen these guys hit in Dynasty rosters, and I think he is a player that is going to get late day 2 draft capital and be in the plans of an NFL franchise to be a starter. All right. My next guy that's going to round out this tier is going to be Caleb Johnson, 6 foot, 225 pound back, another true junior. Really surprised again that he came out 2 unproductive seasons his freshman and sophomore year. Junior year, he kind of explodes. Now, I'm a little lower. I just put out an overrated rookie show, and Caleb Johnson was on that list for me. And I'm probably, lower on him than a lot of guys. I mean, you're looking at his PFF grades here. They're all pretty solid at the top end. And these grades, guys, by the way, are out of the top, the ranks that you see on these scouting cards. I forgot to mention. These are the based on the top 25 running backs headed to the draft. So that's how they stack up against the other draftees in the 2025 class. All right. This guy's got the physicality. I like his decisiveness as a runner, good contact balance. I just don't see the elusivity and lateral ability. I mean, you can see here elusive rating 129 from PFF. I just don't see it on the field, and I got to trust my eyes. I was very underwhelmed with his film, and some guys have him as the RB2 of the class. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I've got to go with my gut. I got to go with what I see. So Caleb Johnson, I still think he's going to be a potential future starter. I think he's going to be drafted as a potential future starter. Had a lot of production this year, and he had a lot of wide open gaps and lanes and a lot of bad tackling. But in any case, I'm just a little lower on Caleb Johnson, but I still truly believe there's a team that's going to take him in late day 2, thinking that they can develop him into a future starter. But I don't think he gets on the field year 1. But I could be wrong. Who knows? But that's kind of my thought process right now. All right, so that's going to round out my tier 2 of future starters. All right, so let's talk about the complementary rotational backs, okay? That's what I'd like to call this tier. These are backs that are going to get most likely day 3 capital, right? And they're going to be probably part of a rotation, but I don't think they're going to have the skill sets to be future starters, right? I think they're always going to be part of a committee. They might spot start for a game or 2 or part of a season because of injuries or something, but I don't think a team's going to draft them thinking that, oh yeah, this is a guy that we could be a future starter. All right. So first guy I'm going to talk about is Cam Skattebo, 5'11", 215 pounds. Nobody had a better end of the season in college football, man, than Cam Skattebo. He was all over the place, just with his physicality. you gotta love the way this guy plays football, right? You know the dude just freaking loves playing football. A team is going to fall in love with his intangibles. And again, you can see some solid grades here on the PFF stats, right? Second PFF rush grade, third in elusive rating. But again, I think what holds me back with Cam Skattebo is just the athleticism. Again, he's tough, physical, but yeah, you got to be able to create space. And even though the elusive rating is high, I still think that there is that limited athleticism is going to, not produce a full-time starter, right? We're going through the lens of Dynasty fantasy football here, okay? So can I see Cam Skattebo being a consistent starter? Maybe. I mean, we'll see. But, he's my ranked 8th running back. But we'll have to see. All right, let's go continue down the list here. Okay, this is where it gets fun, right? These are the day 3 sleepers, right? And all of these ranks are based on my film study, watching the All-22 film. Like I said, I've been watching these cats for years. Trevor Etienne comes in at number 9 for me, okay? 5'8", 202 pound, another junior, which is really interesting. Trevor Etienne, had a pretty decent season at Georgia. I like his decision-making. Very good short area quickness. I think he's an underrated pass catcher. Again, my concern with these players in this realm here is just the consistent play strength, right? And you get these players that are 200 pounds, 5'8". I know we've seen some of these guys hit, right? We talked about that. But most cases, you've got to be really special at that size to be really explosive. And I think Trevor Etienne has shown that at Georgia. And again, limited playing time. They just don't commit anymore to Georgia, to a one back down there, rotating players. He had some injuries. But Trevor Etienne is, I think, an underrated player. Junior who's going to the draft. So I think he got, his brother plays in the NFL. He's been hanging around NFL players. I think he got some good news from the NFL that he might be an early day 3 selection. I like Trevor Etienne. I think he's a little underrated, kind of declared late, so people are kind of maybe, fading him just a little bit. All right, Jordan James coming in here again at number 10, all right? Jordan James, again, another true junior, right? It's coming in, which is really surprising, almost a little heavier than Trevor Etienne. But again, I like his low center of gravity. It's a smooth accelerator, good lateral ability, good pad level, ball security. The dude has not had a fumble in 386 career carries. So that's pretty impressive, right? But again, it's smaller back here. Again, what is going to be his role? I can see him again being part of a rotation, getting in a rotation, but not really ever being a starter in the NFL. All right, Bashal Tutin, right? 5'9", 211 pound, or 5'9", 206 pound running back. Did anyone have a better combine than this guy, right? So look at his stats. Look at his stats here on the scouting card, man, right? You got it. He's pretty high all over the place. Second in elusive rating. Missed tackles for second, right? So why don't I have Tutin higher? Well, I think it was the system that he ran. He always bounces outside. His receiving profile, is average. But again, it comes down to the play strength and physicality. He's a smaller back, but he's tough and physical. But I don't see him running in between the tackles on a regular basis in the NFL. I just don't think he's got the size and the build. He admirably, did a good job playing at Virginia Tech, but I don't see in the NFL him getting a role where, other than just being that pass catching, give my starting running back a break. He's got that explosiveness. He's got that home run speed, right? He just killed all the speed drills down there. Good 40 time. So a team's going to draft him being that, speed to maybe the power guy, but don't see Tutin ever being a starter. All right, number 12 coming in here is Devin Neal. Just dropped my rookie scouting report show on the channel, I think like 2 days ago. Go check that out. This guy was a pre-draft darling before the 2024 draft. I like Devin Neal as a player, but he just doesn't do anything special and like elite to make me think he is a starting running back. All right, he's got a really good receiving profile. I like his catching ability. So I think, again, he's going to be that back that can be a really good fill-in and stuff like that, but I don't ever see him leading a backfield. So this is why I have him in this tier. Again, I'm lower on Devin Neal. There's a lot of people that have Devin Neal in the top 5, and I just don't see it watching the film. And again, I'm going to trust my eyes, right? I'm going to give you what I think versus, I'm just not going to give you the chalk, ranks like, a lot of people have. I'm just not a big Devin Neal guy. I never really have been. I think he's a good player. Reminds me, I think my player comp on the rookie show was Israel Abanikanda, right? Remember him at Pittsburgh, how, good he was and how productive, and the 1,000-yard seasons and the 20-plus touchdowns, and he's buried on a depth chart, and we're never going to see him. And I have a feeling Devin Neal might fall in that same kind of, follow that path. All right, another player I'm really higher on than most people here, coming in at number 13 for me, and this is the last rotational player, because I think people are going to draft, I think an NFL franchise is going to draft Jadon Blue, okay? Again, another junior coming out, which is really surprising. Now, this guy's been relegated to second line duty because there's so many freaking good Texas running backs that are on the roster. So, but man, this guy, I put out a couple videos on him on this channel. Go check it out like a year ago of what I really liked about this guy. His navigation and vision at the line of scrimmage, I think, is exceptional. He is one of the best receiving backs in this class. Ran a 4.38, I believe, at his pro day or the scouting combine. He's more of a space runner than a power in between the tackle type runner, and this is why he falls into this tier. But I'm liking myself some Jadon Blue, man. I think this guy has got the ability and could be the surprise of the draft if he gets early day 3 draft capital. I'm gonna be really drafting Jadon Blue in drafts. I think he could be a sneaky, one of my sleepers in this draft. All right, so that rounds out, okay, the third tier. All right, guys that are going to get a rotational role maybe early in the careers. All right, the handcuffs, right? These are the backs that aren't going to get on the field, I don't think, without an injury to a starter, and you're going to be the handcuff or the backup, right? So you're going to draft these players because if these players get drafted to a team and you've got the starting running back and you're like, oh shit, I'm in the 4th round of my rookie draft, so I'm going to take a handcuff, right? That's what this tier is. The first guy I want to talk about is Jarquez Hunter, number 14 on my running back ranks list, okay? You can see here, man, physicality is something we all know that when you scout players in the NFL, you got to be physical, right? But what keeps a guy on a roster? It's going to be the physicalness and the ability to create space for yourself. Those are the two things as a running back. And you got to pass pro too, right? I mean, that's kind of without, that has to happen too, right? But these are the backs that we're going to get kind of buried on depth charts, and we're going to hope and keep our fingers crossed they go to a good landing spot. Landing spot's going to mean more than anything for this tier player. But going back to Jarquez Hunter, man, he has got really good vision and patience. I think he's another decisive runner. He's bursty, good contact balance. Pass pro is pretty solid. He's durable as hell, and he's had a really good season. I mean, look at some of these grades, man. Explosive plays, he ranked 3rd. Missed tackles forced 4th. I'm a late riser here with Jarquez Hunter. He's been a kind of forgotten player. And you're probably thinking like, wow, there's 3 or 4 other names I'm expecting well before Jarquez Hunter. But his tape is pretty good. He's not going to make a lot of guys miss, even though he had an elusive rating ranked 6th at 135. He's more of a straight north-south plot, kind of plotting runner. But I think his physicality and just his pad level and his toughness is going to get him on an NFL roster as a backup. RJ Harvey, coming in at number 15. A lot of guys have Harvey in their top 10. Man, he is a 5th, he's a 4-year player. He's a senior. Decent stats here. 2nd in explosive plays. Missed tackles 4th, ranked 5th in the class. He's explosive. He's bursty. He's got good receiving. His pass pro, I think, is really bad, and he bounces again outside too often, and he's not got the size, I think, to be an interior runner on a regular basis. I think he more projects as a change of pace RB2 for an NFL franchise. But he's explosive and he's quick, and he can create separation. So I think he's going to be used in that role, but I don't see him being a starter, and I think he's going to just get buried on a depth chart in the NFL. All right, DJ Giddens, another player that some people are probably waiting to hear his name, right? Coming in at number 16 for me. Just dropped his scouting report, I think, yesterday on this channel. So go check that out. I did kind of Neal and Giddens at the same time, and they're both similar players. My comp for DJ Giddens was Rashad White. When I watch him play, that's kind of the vibe I get. And we know Rashad White. I was very surprised he got a starting gig, but it looks like that time is starting to fade away. 3 years later, we got Bucky Irving, I think, taking his job right now. And I think that's going to be on a lot of like these players. That's what's going to happen. They're going to get initial gigs, and then they're just going to be replaced by future better players. And DJ Giddens, I like him, but he just doesn't do anything elite. I think he's got really good lateral agility, good at second level elusiveness. You can see my card here, contact balance. But again, his place strength. I mean, I see him getting pushed back way too much for his size at 6'1", 212. I don't see him pushing a lot of piles. I see him like getting stood up a lot and getting pushed back. Good college running back, but I don't see any kind of NFL dynasty asset in DJ Giddens. Okay. Got a few more guys here before we wrap this top 20 show. Number 17, Brashard Smith. Okay. Again, this guy started out as a receiver, kind of like the Tyrone Tracy Jr. comp, right? Gets converted to a running back. He's very raw as a runner. Explosive player. He's got a lot of speed. At Miami, he played wide receiver for 3 years. Then he goes to SMU, converts to a running back. Great story. Great pass catcher. He's had 3 fumbles this year, so he's got to learn how to hold on to the ball. And he's got a really thin frame. And I just don't see the NFL, man. You got to be able to, again, you got to be able to be tough to play in the NFL, and you need the physicality to withstand playing on a regular basis. I see Brashard Smith nothing more than a backup role. Maybe he could have been in the rotational play, but again, he's so small, and the strength and contact balance is just a big concern for me because I don't believe Tyrone Tracy is long as a starting running back in the NFL. In fact, if I had him on my roster, I'd be looking to sell him. The story's nice, but it's not going to last. All right, coming in at number 18 is Woody Marks. Okay, great running back. USC had a great season. You can see explosive plays. He ranks 6th, but again, he's just a good runner. He's a 5th-year senior, which is always kind of, not that I care so much. I don't think the NFL cares as much. This guy's going to be around 5, 6 pick, but and be just a backup piece. He's got some good hands and good receiving ability, versatile player. But he's going to be 24 when he enters the draft. And his lateral movement in the second level when he has a head of steam is like really not great. He's just not that elusive. You can see he came in last in elusive rating at 50. So Woody Marks has been a nice story, but he should have come out last year if he really was going to be an NFL worthy player. All right, 2 more players we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get you out of here. Okay, Ollie Gordon is buried on my depth here at number 19. Some people have him in his top 10 as well. He's just not that explosive when he has to be moving laterally. He's very clunky with his feet. His short area burst and acceleration is average at best. I just don't see. You can see his PFF rush grade. He came in last at 76.6. I know 2 years ago he was like the top running back in the draft in college, and going into this draft cycle, I think most people thought that he was going to be the RB1 of the class. I never saw it on the film. I think he just played in a system that just had wide open gaps and bad tackling, and he just was so big and physical. He was just churning yards. I just don't see him as a starter, and I think he's going to be a backup role, like a Rashawn Johnson going to Chicago, who we were excited about coming out of Texas, who's now buried on a depth chart that we're really never going to see in Dynasty. All right, last guy I want to talk about, again, a player that we've been watching. He was a Debbie darling years ago, and that is Raheem Sanders, 6'2", 230 pounds. This guy is a senior. Put a video out on this YouTube channel breaking down his film, and this guy's got some lateral ability. He's got some explosiveness. He's got some footwork and good agility skills. He's an underrated receiver. Go check out the film I posted, man. The dude caught the ball out of the backfield. He had a couple rough years, but he bounced back this year, playing in South Carolina. An elusive rating came in 8th. Missed tackles force came in 10th. So there's an NFL franchise out there that is looking for a big back who can, move the piles and, give you some lateral agility. I think he'll be a great backup in the NFL. So there you guys got it, man. There are my top 20 running backs headed to the 2025 NFL draft. I'll be doing a show just like this after the draft, after we have the landing spots, after we have the draft capital. And I'm going to be dropping a wide receiver show and tight end show just like this one. I don't do quarterback shows. There's only 2 that we're getting excited about. So, but we're going to go the wide receiver show. I'm putting my finishing touches on that. That will be dropping here very shortly. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. If you like the video, please hit the subscribe, share it with a friend. I'm trying to get to 70K subscribers by the NFL draft. And again, if you're interested in scouting players for yourself with all 22 film cut-ups, ranks for the 2026 class, 2027 class already broken down by position. Check out my NFL Drafts big board subscriptions. Thanks for considering. Thanks for watching. See you next time.